by the time that you hit the button and the guys recognize it to be able to slow down and get it communicated, they're already across the start-finish line. You might as well just let them finish it. And then at that point, Eric Jones won the race. Eric Jones got screwed by NASCAR officials.
Go, 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 go. 3, 2, 1, 4 tires. Still there, inside. What a jump, what a jump!
The track is wet, it's good.
Still there, clear. 3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Foreign Field Podcast. We are back post Daytona 500. An exciting finish, to say the least. I will get into that finish here in a little bit. But I am your host, Dom Capilupo, joined, as always, by Steve Ray, Wes Riddle, and Sam Dooley. Boys, how was the 500 for you guys?
It was all right.
Oh,
It passed the eye test. That's all I got to say. The eye test, good. Fuel mileage sucks. Crashes suck. Finish, strange.
And that's it. All right, and we'll see you guys next week.
yeah.
Little summary
Yeah, it
there.
looked good. I mean, the talk, after watching the race, we keep hearing that this thing of, the casual fan turns the TV on. They turn it on, it's in prime time. Turn it on, it's 3 wide, and it looks great. But to the hardcore fans watching it, and I think Riley Herbst put it perfectly when I was listening to the teardown. It's like, realistically, I didn't even need to watch the first 150 laps. I just needed to watch from the final pit stop to the checkered flag. That's really all that mattered, because it's just a big race of 70% throttle to just get to the last pit stop, to have the quickest pit stop, put in the least amount of fuel, and then go from there. It's not what it used to be. They're not going 100% all the time like it used to be. So to the eye, 3x3 through the whole field looks awesome. But if you're even the second car in line or anywhere from there on back, you're not going anywhere. So you might as well just hang out. There's no incentive to race hard anymore.
Yeah, it was interesting because I kind of got that casual viewer, new fan experience with some of my friends, because I went to a sports bar after work, because thankfully I know everyone else hated it, but the rain delay actually got me out of work so I could watch most of the race, because I was off work by the time it happened. But we went to a sports bar. We were having a few libations, and I was like, I'm really interested in NASCAR. I'm watching it. Right. And then they're watching it too, and they're like locked in because they see this product, like you were talking about, 3x3 all the way through the pack. This looks amazing. And I kind of somewhat bursted their bubble, because I was like, as an actual NASCAR fan right now, this sucks. Like, I hate what I'm looking at right now, because I know there's not a single person in that pack right now. They're just going above 80% throttle. Right. There's no one that's really pushing it. No one's going hard. It was just like you were saying, it's 150 laps of waiting around. Okay, we're in our fuel window. Now we can hit the hammer, try and win. Right. Like, it was like, it's the car, it's the setup of the stages. I don't know what it is. There's a lot of factors to go into it, but it's like I was watching it, like, they were hooked, and they are people that usually make fun of me for liking NASCAR. It's just left turn, and they were sitting there, they watched every single lap, because they thought it was the best thing ever. So I guess if that's what you're going for, if you're NASCAR, hey, more power to you. But you've got your hardcore group of fans that look at that, and they just see a bunch of guys that are barely touching the throttle, just riding around in circles for 150, 175 laps until it's go time.
I was just going to add, I guess, even with all that, though, we saw our like typical contenders up front, right? I feel like they were always able to kind of push their way and find their way to the front, even through the fuel saving and even in the times that they went hard at the end. Those are the usual suspects like Orion Blaney, the Austin Cindric, the Bubba Wallace, the Denny Hamlin, the Joey Logano. Those guys found their way to the front pretty much whenever they needed to or whenever they could. And unfortunately, none of them got the win, and we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Yeah, and to add on to that, when they're 3 wide like that, you hear the hypotheticals. Oh, well, if you just want to get to the front, you won't save fuel. Well, when their track is blocked 3 wide, 7 rows deep, even if you're in 25th and like, you know what, screw this, I don't want to save fuel, let me get track position, you can't. You're kind of forced into the fuel mileage game, even if you don't want to be. That's why when I saw it go 3 wide, it's like, oh my God, here we go. If they're double file, at least, if you wanted to just throw caution to the wind with fuel, you could at least try to maneuver your way up. But when it's 3 wide, there's nowhere to go. And then we'll see the same thing at Talladega, except they'll go 4 wide just to block the track with fuel saving.
Yeah, it's a shame of what restrictor plate racing is now compared to when we were all growing up and we were watching the Earnhardts and the Gordons and even Tony Stewart. It was must watch TV. And now as we've all talked about, like as a lifelong fan, it's really hard for me to say, like, I really could have had it on, walked away, done stuff around my house, and then just had somebody tell me when it was 50 to go, and then I would have watched it. That's really, and I don't know where. Maybe it was around the time of the stages, but then they started lowering the horsepower and adding a lot of drag to the car, of where all of this went wrong and where this product changed. And I don't really see it changing anytime soon, and that's the really unfortunate part.
I think a lot of what it has to do with, and I'm no engineer, I don't claim to be, but just looking at it, it just seems like it's a lot easier to stay in the pack now than it used to be. Like that was what you had to push, because if you would lose the draft if you did not push, right? Like you had to stay locked in, like you had to be going hard, or else you're going to lose the draft and you're going to be out of contention, right? But now it just feels like it's so easy for them to bunch up. Like you can stay bunched up really easily now, so you can do that whole thing. Because like you look at like older cars, right? They're legitimately having to push to stay with the other cars around them. I don't know if it has something to do with all the cars being the exact same now, like there's no difference in them anymore or something like that. But like just from an outsider perspective, that's what it kind of looks like, is like they can just stay packed up. They can kind of make moves really easily and stay under this blanket, right? So they don't have to push it anymore. Just, as a non-engineering, don't understand that much about the car, that's just what I've observed.
NASCAR's getting what they want with the casual fan, as we've said, and it just lays out perfectly for them. You get 150 laps of 3 wide on the screen, great for the casual fan. And what NASCAR tends to cater to is the casual fan. It's not making improvements for the diehard fans like us that know what's going on. It's, the casual fan tuning into the biggest race of the year, we might get them hooked on. And then you put Atlanta the week after. Yeah, all right. Then you get them to watch 2 races like that. Then you might have them hooked for good. And then so you get the 150 of 3 wide. And then you get the last little stint where it's just crash, crash, crash. And what does the casual fan want to see? Crashes. So the race lays out perfectly for the casual fan, and NASCAR likes that. So that's why changes aren't imminent. We're kind of stuck with this until the car itself produces a better race as to where you can maneuver because if you can maneuver your way to the front going full out, fuel mileage really wouldn't be a problem, because it'd just be like, oh, I lost 10 spots, I'll make that back up, no problem. the problem is if you're in 20th with 20 to go, you probably don't have a prayer to get to the front. You're going to have to bank on those wrecks happening, which will happen. And if you're running 7th on the last lap on the backstretch, the only chance you got of winning is just having the front 6 wipe out. And that typically happens nowadays because there's no safe spot in the field with these cars. And with that, I'm just going to keep going. So I'm just going to keep on going. We're going to do a new segment here on the Four and Field podcast called Driver Intros. And basically, each of us is going to go over something that we feel strongly about from this past weekend. And I already got into the finish of the race, so I'm just going to keep on rolling. What's Cole Custer doing? Where first he cleans out Bell, just runs right through the back of Bell, takes him out, starts the big one, which sends the race to overtime. And then you get the overtime restart. You get to the backstretch. Cole Custer, I mean, no blame on Cole Custer for making it 3 wide to try to win the race. Like, that's not a problem. The problem is he gets to the outside of Denny Hamlin and then just hooks left, where he panicked, as if he thought he had no help. But you watch Byron's onboard. Byron was actually going to go pick up Cole Custer and give him a huge push. So then you look at it, it's probably between Hamlin and Cole Custer off turn 4 if Cole Custer doesn't turn left into Denny Hamlin, which starts the wreck on the backstretch. Which in then turn, NASCAR doesn't throw the caution.
Yeah, that was interesting. After the weekend that we've had,
the one time they don't throw the caution is when the race is over. The whole field's gone. The whole field's gone. Now we'll let them race it back.
NASCAR not being consistent. Never seen that before.
Yeah, that was my gripe from the weekend.
Because now it just adds such an inconsistent. We're back to the inconsistency, right? Was it in the truck race or just the dual race? I guess, did they throw a caution at the end of the truck race as well? Wasn't it not that far?
Yeah, it was coming out of turn 4, almost to the tri-oval. They threw the caution truck race.
Which, I mean, I didn't mind because in that moment, I know a lot of people have said, let them race back. But I was like, they're all wrecking, get the safety workers out there. And then I thought, oh, here we go in the cup race, right? They're going to throw the caution because it's the right thing to do for the driver's safety. And they didn't. They let them race all the way back. And I'm like, but, it's just, are we going to prioritize the driver's safety and be quick on the button, to get response out there? Or are we just going to do it for the entertainment value and let them race back? We got to try to get consistent with that. And the tower has to do that pretty soon. So they, finally, get a baseline. And it shouldn't be hard. We've been racing for, I don't know, a pretty long time. So you think an answer should be sooner than later. So we'll find out next week at Atlanta.
Yeah, and then in the Xfinity race, they were, I don't know, 200 yards from the start-finish line and said that Jesse Love got the white. Parker Kligerman was that far from the start-finish line at the Roval last year, and they said that he didn't. So there's no level of consistency to it. I thought for sure when Hamlin started darting back up the track when Custer wrecked him and then got slammed in the door, I thought, oh, for sure, caution is going to come out. Whether a caution came out at the time of the wreck or they let it go, it wasn't going to change the outcome that William Byron was going to win. But the problem that I have with it is that the timing of the cautions, and maybe my frustration goes all the way back to Thursday because Austin Cindric did not win Duel 2. Mm-hmm. I am dying on the hill that Eric Jones, and it doesn't matter because it's a dual win, doesn't matter for the playoffs or all that. You are saying that, oh, we're going to throw this caution for driver safety when you're 100 yards from the start-finish line and you can't race it out there. I can guarantee you if you're 100 yards from the start-finish line in in a dual race that has half the amount of cars in it, by the time that you hit the button and the guys recognize it to be able to slow down and get it communicated, they're already across the start finish line. You might as well just let them finish it. And then at that point, Eric Jones won the race. Eric Jones got screwed by NASCAR officials on that. So then NASCAR was catching so much slack for not for throwing the cautions that they just decided not to throw it in probably what was the biggest wreck of the weekend, the one that actually should have had a caution to end the race. We're one race in and they're already being inconsistent with it. But yeah, I just wanted to make my point that Eric Jones actually won Duel 2. I will die on that hill that he won.
Yep.
He's the winner in my books, and that's what I got.
Just real quick, if I can get just a short answer from each of you, would you prefer what happened in the duel happen, where they throw it that close to the finish line, or would you rather it, be the other option where they race back, but then the drivers, they're wrecking in the middle of the field, you got calamity and there's no caution, and they don't send out any safety trucks until pretty much everybody passes the line? I figure y'all probably pick the first one.
Say I'm taking the green flag finish. Like that's what
Right.
I want. It's just we
Mhm.
need it to
But
be
is
a
it-
consistent factor.
Yeah, but then it's like, is that morally the right thing for the safety of the drivers? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I actually have a little idea what they could do to get more, if not all, races to end under green. You remember the overtime line?
Don't bring up the overtime line.
Now, not the overtime line where it's with 2 to go, but put an overtime line or like a cutoff line on the last lap, like maybe halfway down the backstretch. If you don't get to that line and there's a wreck, you could throw a caution and then line them up for overtime. If they make it past that cutoff line, then it's a green flag finish. There's no caution. You race it back to the finish line regardless of what happens.
But that's opening it up even more. Like the races will never end. Like it's restrictor plates in that scenario, like because they already taking the white. Like they already have multiple overtimes at a lot of these tracks, and then
That's what NASCAR wants. They want the pandemonium.
it is right, but it's like at a certain point when you're on your 12th overtime and there's 2 cars that haven't been involved in a wreck yet, and you've got a car in the back that probably has 3 wheels on it but somehow meets minimum speed, like there's got to be somewhere where like I don't know, it just feels like you're opening it up to where like now it's even farther back for it for overtime to take effect again. So now you're opening up even more time, especially around the time they're starting to make moves where the cautions will be.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like it opens it up to a lot longer overtimes, which is not what we need.
Yeah, but even without that, what race had the most overtimes, like in history?
Wasn't it just last year in Nashville?
Yeah, that's not a super speedway.
No.
So, and you look at it, would you rather have a couple more overtimes in one race or have a finish like last year's 500 where they start spinning right before the white flag and then the race was over because they didn't hit the button until right after the finish line?
You could almost ask yourself, well, not ask yourself, but I feel like the least amount of drama that ever, has come of anything finish-wise, probably the least amount of complaining, but it's probably the most boring option, would be to race the Daytona 500 as the Daytona 500, not 501 or 2
Mhm.
or 4 or 5, right? And we race 200 laps, and if there's a caution with however many, unfortunately we finish the race under caution, but that's the way it is. It would definitely reduce all this overtime, conflict and added stress and tension from both the drivers and the crews and everybody, right? If we just race the scheduled distance, I know it's not the most, eye-pleasing option, but at the same time, we saw a lot less complaining when that was in place. And now every week, right, we have, just it seems like there's something about the overtime restart that we have to talk about. Not us, but just NASCAR, right? So, I mean, obviously, NASCAR could talk about it. Do they want to do that? Probably not. But would it be the most, feasible option, for just, right, getting to the finish and just having a simple outcome? Probably.
All right. Well, we
Yeah,
got.
I think to answer your question, Wes, of where I would prefer, I can see both sides to it. Obviously, if somebody pulls a Ryan Priest and you're flipping up through the air, then you got to throw a caution. But I had the same kind of idea that Dom had, is that if you're coming, if you're in the middle of 3 and 4 and somebody isn't flipping, you know that you only have a little bit of the track left to go, and then the cars are going to start slowing down. If the big wreck was in turn 1 and you have cars scattering everywhere, then yeah, you could throw a caution there. But I think if you're coming off turn 4 and you can see the flag stand, I think you just got to finish it out under green.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're always going to have that human element too, no matter where you put the line, right? Like there's always going to be someone that is pushing that caution button. And there will, even if you move it back, right? You move it halfway down the back stretch on the last lap. Hey, someone could jump the gun and throw a caution out there, and they have to do another overtime when someone, gets a little sideways because they want it to end under green and they don't know what's going to happen. Right. So I think that we're looking for perfect solutions to an imperfect problem, because there's always going to be like a human element to it where there will be controversy no matter really what you pick. There's always going to be someone that has to make that decision to hit that button. Is that a caution? Is it not a caution? Where are they? And the person hitting that button is always, there's going to be an amount of error, just human error that always happens.
All right. Well, we got Cole Custer talked about. We have consistency or inconsistency of cautions being called for the driver intros. So, Sam, what's got you thinking here?
Well, for me, I'm going to go with a happy thing that I'm going to focus on, because I feel like we've been very down in this episode so far. I'm just gonna be happy for old 7-time getting 3rd place. I don't care what happened. Okay, he has not done well at all, even at Daytona, right? Even at the most wild card track that he's come back and tried to race. Those legacy cars have just been that bad, right? He was at least up there close enough to where he could survive and get 3rd. So I'm going to focus on the fact that Unc, old man, whatever you want to call him, he got a podium, old 7-time. I'm happy about that. I hated him when he was winning those 7 championships as a Gordon fan, but now I can look back and respect greatness, and I am happy for him that he was able to see some success, because it has been very, very bad since he's been starting that 84 car in a couple of one-off races.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson, I was never the biggest fan. I mean, good for him. If he got 3rd at like Charlotte, like in the 600 this year, that impressed me a lot more.
It's better than 36th at every race that he's tried, or, I don't know what his stats are, but I can't imagine there's that many even top 30s, because he just has not looked good. He hasn't looked good. The car hasn't looked good. It's all kind of just been not good. So I was just proud of Legacy for strolling out a car that was even able to keep up with the pack. So good on them. Good on Unc, co-owner. I'm proud of you.
It wasn't even really luck. I mean, all 3 legacy cars were fast. So it wasn't even that Jimmy just rode at the back and avoided the wrecks and then got through. I mean, he did avoid the wrecks and got through to 3rd, but for a while, I know when they were coming down, probably 20 to go, he was sitting within the top 10, had that tire strategy that got him up towards the front. And really, John Hunter Nemechek was fast. Eric Jones was up front for a while. Really, all the legacy cars. That's vast improvement for one race. We'll see when they get to a real racetrack. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, what you're gonna have legacy? Yeah, say give me the Phoenix and Vegas, and then we'll start talking legacy. If they can get out of the top, into the top 25, top 20, then maybe we start talking legacy.
We're
Making
looking at baby
improvements.
steps here. There's being in the pack, right? Like, because I don't think that legacy, Steve, you can correct me because you're our legacy guy here, but I don't think legacy's been that competitive even at a restrictor plate track in a while. So like even though it's not really real having to set up the car and make the car fast type stuff, they're at least in there. They're up there at because they were so far behind that they weren't even up there at the tracks where you don't need speed to be up there. So it's all about the little baby steps, the small improvements for teams that finish outside of the top 30.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, last year's Daytona 500, John Hunter got taken out pretty early. I think Eric Jones was caught up in some stuff too. Yes, it's been a long and dismal couple years for the legacy fans out there. I'm hopeful that this can go ahead to Atlanta. Another top 20 run by both cars would be great. And then once they get to the race after that, I think top 20 has got to be the goal for them this year. And I think it's achievable. I think both cars have talented drivers. Time will tell.
All right, Wes. What do you want to talk about now?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's so many topics we could talk about. I'd love to give a nice shout out to Chris Wright for making the Xfinity highlights. I thought that was pretty exciting.
Oh,
Haven't seen him in a while, but no, I mean, obviously big mistake there, but that was pretty much the highlight of Daytona Speed Weeks, I think. That or Halio getting wrecked every freaking race. Oh, poor guy. I was going to talk about, I guess, just to kind of go off, what we just talked about with Jimmy Johnson. Try to talk about something good from the weekend, and I think it'll be something that might get overlooked just kind of as we go on through the season. But Corey LaJoie just drove the race of his career, and like might have just saved anything, for his future, right? Or just opened a door, that could open to some pretty big opportunities for him. He definitely, had a rough season last year, made some mistakes. Obviously, things didn't work out with the ride. We saw the driver switch. And then going into the season, a lot of, kind of unnecessary banner from a lot of people on social media, kind of ripping into him, saying, just talking about his talent level, but obviously, he's never been in the fastest cars, right? He has, he made some mistakes, but the next gen is pretty difficult once you get loose. We see a lot of drivers once they get loose, they spin out in these cars. But he went in, he made the duel. He got through after missing through qualifying, and he was competitive pretty much the entire race. I feel like every stage he was up front. Times you saw him in the back, he'd work his way to the front, and then he put himself in position to get the win. Right there with the last couple laps, I don't know who was behind him, but he might have had a run that could have played out, if a lane opened up there coming off turn 3 or turn 4, because he was only, I think, the third car there on the bottom lane. Whoever, I can't remember who was behind Denny Hamlin. It might have been Chase Briscoe, but anyway, it was an incredible race from Corey LaJoie. I thought it for a second. I was like, he spun out Riley Herbst coming to the finish line, but I actually went back and Herbst actually hit, I think, the tri-oval, and then it kicked his car sideways, and Corey actually never touched him, but it spun him out. So I was like, oh, okay, Corey made it through. I was like, there's a reason for somebody on Twitter to give him a hard time. But Corey LaJoie, drove an incredible race. I guess he's not going to be stacking pennies much longer. If pennies go away, start stacking nickels. I don't know what his plan will be, but he's got maybe 9 more races this season. I think he'll race at Atlanta. I've talked for a while, but Corey LaJoie, did a phenomenal job and was really impressed by what we saw from him.
Yeah, if nothing, he got some great TV time for his sponsors, which is a huge thing when you're in those one-off rides and you're trying to show these sponsors that you're trying to get on the car, hey, I'll get you some return on investment. And when you lead 10 laps in the Daytona 500 with the Take 5 oil change car, like they're going to see that and be like, yeah, I want to sponsor this guy again, at least at these restrictor plate tracks, because you showed, hey, I can get your brand on TV. Like just looking at the financial side, that's what you want to do.
And on top of it, too, just the thought of like, I know we say the cars are even, but are Rick Ware cars as even as Team Penske or Hendrick Motorsports? Like he held a Rick Ware racing car competitive enough to stay ahead of those guys for a large portion of the race, and that's saying something. It's pretty big for their team, right? I mean, I don't think anybody thought Cody Ware, would have a 22nd place average finish in the 7 or 8 starts he had last season, and he did. And he's always been good at super speedways. So, I mean, their team's improving, and Corey in a part-time ride, he showed up.
So when are we getting Foreign Fuel podcast on Corey LaJoie's car?
We got to get
I
on
don't have
Norm
the money for
Benning's
that.
truck.
Ooh,
That's right.
yeah.
Norm was upset. He said he was gonna he had a truck that was gonna win the race. He said he had a winning truck.
Oh, Norm.
He is a great fella. I think he finished top 16.
I mean, we could go on Brayton Laster's ARCA car, and then just watch our logo get destroyed.
Maybe instead of our logo, our faces could be on the slices or the pieces.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that ARCA race is embarrassing.
Is it even?
I don't even want to talk about it.
I don't even think it's a race.
I don't want to get into that.
And then Elio, when you're talking about Elio, he just gets cleaned out after the race.
ARCA is where dreams go to die at super speedways. Like I've never, as someone who's gone to Talladega for like all the races of my life, pretty much, or at least most of them, and seen a lot of them, those ARCA races. Goodness, I don't think it's ever really been good, but it's just gotten worse. Like it's bad.
It used to be all right at the super speedways when you had like Bobby Gerhart and Frank Kimmel, all those guys racing. Now it's just a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Bunch of kids with their parents' money, so they don't care about trashing everything because daddy's just going to buy me a new car if I blow this one up. So I don't know.
Yeah, I do. All right. So I want to bring light to the 40 car. Justin Allgaier, first race for Junior Motorsports in the Cup Series, getting a 9th place finish. And by the looks of things, it looks like Dale Jr. might be hooked now. He might have that bug now to get into the Cup Series full time. Steve, do you think we could, if and when do you think we might see Junior Motorsports have a full time entry in the Cup Series?
I think realistically, it all comes down to dollars and cents, and that's been Junior's thing over and over. Is just it comes down to how much is it going to be for a charter. He's not gonna. I don't see Junior wanting to be an open car all year, but it comes down to can you find sponsorship, and obviously we know that he's going to have backing from Hendrick Motorsports. So that's not going to be an issue there. But are you going to be able to find a sponsor? Who's going to be your driver for it? And how much is it going to be to get a charter? And now we've just gone through this whole charter agreement. The lawsuits are still up in the air, still trying to figure things out on that part of it. Do I think that we could see Junior Motorsports enter a couple more races this year? Yes, I can realistically see that. Where, don't know. But I think if the cards line up, I think it could be within the next year to 2 years that we see full-time junior motorsports.
Yeah, because if you look at the drivers in the Xfinity pipeline for junior motorsports, could you do Justin Allgaier? Maybe. Would Justin Allgaier want to do that? I don't know.
I think he said that he would like to. Realistically, he's on, you know how Matt Crafton is like he's just at the truck level that he's been in his whole career. I think the Xfinity series perfectly fits Justin Allgaier. He had those couple years in Cup, granted it was with a terrible team. You know, and it's just, do you want to race on Sundays knowing that realistically you're looking at probably around 20th? Right? Or do you want to race on Saturdays and win a championship like he did last year? If it was me in his shoes, I would want to race for a championship, whether that's at an Xfinity or truck level. But that's just me. Maybe I'm not Justin Allgaier. You know, the Cup Series is the top of the top, and that's where everybody wants to be. You also have to look at Justin's on the backside of his career. Now, maybe for the first year, maybe Justin is a good candidate for that ride because you need somebody with that experience that has next gen experience on top of that, and he's going to be like how AJ Allmendinger has helped Colleagues Cup program. You're going to need somebody with that next gen experience to help get your program off the ground. But long term, I can only see that being like a 1 year thing, and then you're going to be looking at who's next in there. Obviously, Zilich signed with Trackhouse, so I think he's gonna take off on a Trackhouse car. But you could be looking at Junior Motorsports, one of the other guys. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would hope so. I thought everything that they did on the 40 car, everything from the announcement to making the field to racing, I think they did a great job, and they get they get an A+ from me.
Yeah, with Justin, you do have Brandt obviously backing him up, but I think it's a big difference between sponsoring an Xfinity car and a Cup car when it comes to how much it costs to do that. So it's probably like Brandt might be able to do maybe half a season in the Cup Series, but why do that if you could do the full year? Every race is Brandt on Allgaier's car basically in Xfinity.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the idea of having Allgaier kind of start the team, kind of like Allmendinger did for Colleague. He kind of got that Cup, operation off the ground, and then you try out different younger drivers. Because you have like Carson Quaffle sitting there in the Xfinity Series now. You give him a few more years to kind of grow and get used to racing with the top guys, and then maybe he's a candidate for that ride. Maybe Junior poaches Josh Berry back into Junior Motorsports. It's all hypotheticals right now, but it's the first time I think I've heard Junior really want to get into the Cup Series.
Yeah, like the last thing you want to do, talking about Justin Allgaier being like their kind of first guy, the last thing you want to do as a new team is have a brand new young driver, because that's a recipe for a terrible season and maybe not going past, that first couple of years. Right, because you're going to have growing pains as a team breaking into Cup. I don't care if that is literally just a fifth Hendrick car. Like, just having that operation, understanding how things are done on Sundays is a lot different than how things are done on Saturdays. And so the last thing you want to do is throw a young guy who doesn't understand how things are done on Sundays, and then you've got a new team that is still also learning how things are done on Sundays. That's a bad recipe, and I feel like we've seen in the past that is how teams die, is they try and do too much with a young guy when they don't know what they're doing. So having like Justin Allgaier, I liked your Josh Berry idea because he's got a lot of experience in the next gen car. I don't know how that would work. I don't know what conversations that would be. Like you said, it's all hypothetical. But someone that's got some experience. You need someone that knows the cars, knows how they should drive. to help with your team, kind of helping them gel and kind of getting into it. You're never going to expect the junior motorsports car to show up. If, hypothetically, if they were a full-time next year or the year after that, expect them to show up and be fast. But you need someone in that seat that can feel what's wrong and help you get to where you want to go. Because you may be a 20 to 30th place car when you first come in, but then you get someone in that seat that's telling you each week you're slowly getting better because he's telling you something that you need to do with the car. And then that's how you kind of set your trajectory up. And then you can bring in some of this young talent that they have an abundance of.
I would petition. I'm going to start a petition to have Dale be the full-time driver for that car when they get in there.
Yeah, Dale Jr. is never going to drive the next gen car.
No, wishful thinking.
I don't even think he wants to do a practice session in that car, let alone doing a race in that car. I don't even think he's doing the Xfinity Series this year.
No, he said that he's taking this year off. Maybe next year he'll go back into it, but he wants to put all of his focus into TV this year, doing the things for Prime and that, and then hopefully next year.
Yeah, looking at it, some exciting things possibly in the works for junior motorsports would be huge for the sport. To get Dale Jr. into the Cup Series as an owner would definitely bring some more fans, I think, back, especially those that rooted for Junior and kind of stopped after he retired as a driver. Let's see what we got here. Kyle Busch, another disappointment. No Daytona 500 for him. I just want to ask you guys real quick, between him and Brad Keselowski, do you think either of them are going to win a 500 before they're done?
No. I just the way that this racing is, it opens the door for every driver to have an opportunity at the end, whether it's because of a wreck or whether it's because a pit stop, fuel, you never know. So I'm going to say no.
I think, like you were saying, it's a possibility for everyone. But I think when you take that, skill aspect out of it, that's what really kills it for me. With Bush, I never saw him as like a great restrictor plate driver, right? But as someone who went to Talladega all the time, like I said, I saw Brad Keselowski be a great restrictor plate driver in person. I watched him win multiple times, right? So I think now that when you take that skill gap out and everyone just kind of has a level playing field, right? And everyone kind of has like that same, Dom gets it, has that same, everyone kind of has, a 0.2% chance of winning the race as soon as they line up, right? Like there's some people, that can work this car better than others. But it's like when you take away everyone's kind of individuality and how they can drive, and like there's just one kind of certain way everyone kind of has to drive, and everyone kind of has an equal opportunity at winning, that reduces your chances of saying any one person could win the Daytona 500. And it sounds kind of hypocritical because we're looking at William Byron, who has just won back to back, but it was a lot of luck. Like you got to get lucky nowadays.
Yeah, Kyle, I feel like is going to continue to get screwed out of these deals. The last, handful of years, he definitely could have won a few of these last couple Daytona 500s, but I don't see Kyle doing it. Brad, I can see it if he doesn't get caught up in one of the wrecks. And that's just how these go nowadays. It's just if you can make it through the last 25 laps and you can be leading one of the lines, I think you have a shot to win. So as long as Brad can do that, I can see Brad winning one of these deals. But realistically, I mean, we almost saw Corey LaJoie win a Daytona 500. So it's not really skill based anymore.
Yeah, you would think the sports books would tell you that you would think Kyle Busch has won 5 of these 500s, with having him as the favorite for the 500, and his odds are the lowest of any driver. And for Kyle Busch, he keeps putting himself in, especially since he's gotten into this 8 car. He's put himself in position to be there at the end, and just, if we were doing what Wes said, race the Daytona 500, he would have won the 500. But that's just not the deal, and it seems like every car that spins out or it catches Kyle Busch. And this time he was a victim of Joey Logano, which isn't the first time that's happened to Kyle Busch. As he said, the fastest car in the field was just in a hurry to be in the wreck. And Kyle Busch, I think he's got more chances at winning the 500 than Brad does. I don't know how long Brad's going to race for. But, I mean, you could say the same about Kyle Busch. If Kyle Busch keeps going with winless seasons, is he going to keep doing this and dragging this out for forever? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't seen a Daytona 500 where one of 3 things doesn't happen. Kyle Busch gets absolutely shafted. Ryan Blaney gets right rear hooked into the wall, and Ryan Preece does something wild to be in a really bad spot.
And
Yeah, poor Ryan Preece. Like I was telling you guys yesterday, he is this generation's Ryan Newman. Just really hard to pass, kind of always in the way, and then always seems to flip on these kind of tracks.
well, so
Horrible.
why you could say Ryan Newman, but at least Ryan Newman won cup races.
That is true. That is true.
I don't know how Ryan Preece keeps getting all these opportunities. He's not good.
Well, if you look at his profile now, he's an astronaut, so that might be something.
Yeah.
I mean,
He'd be
he's
better at that than a cup driver, and he's not good.
this is his year. If he's going to prove himself and prove what he's capable of, he has to be able to beat Brad and Busher on a regular basis. But he's going to have to make the playoffs. If he doesn't, and it's not going to be a good look. Or if he doesn't finish top 20 in points.
Yeah, I just can't. I've never thought Ryan Preece was the most talented, and I mean, just time after time, how many times are you going to blame the ride? It's the driver, dude. And then I guess Ryan Preece knows more about physics than everyone else, because I guess NASCAR isn't taking any steps into safety, because you'd have thought you would have thought NASCAR has taken steps backwards in the last 25 years the way Ryan Preece talks about these cars.
I can't get started again. Oh, I guess for whoever's watching viewer wise, it's just it's not a good look saying that we're getting closer to somebody getting hurt when we haven't had anybody hurt in arguably the safest car in all forms of motorsports. So it's a little bit ridiculous to hear somebody say that when very minimal concussions, but it makes sense for drivers to get concussions because we're driving cars over 170 miles an hour. It's not like we can't just prevent it from happening, period. And it's not like before I talked about it earlier, before 2010, every single wreck probably had the driver in that wreck get a concussion. What more are we supposed to do to make this sport more safe aside from slowing cars down over 50 more miles an hour? I mean, 10 miles an hour isn't going to make a difference. 20 miles an hour isn't going to make a difference. And we've heard more drivers complain about smaller impact crashes than bigger impact crashes. Even when it comes to the flips, when drivers have flipped, they hardly say it hurts. But when these cars land on, kind of the ground more than anything, or concrete on metal, that's when it really hurts. But I mean, the cars are safe. What more do we do?
Yeah. Again, you're not going to be able to keep a car going 180 miles an hour on the ground. There's just They have taken steps which have kept more cars on the ground as compared to last year. And his is just a freak incident. If you get the car the nose up, I don't care what you put on that thing. It's not keeping it up, getting it back on the ground without the possibility of flipping.
Could also
Yeah, I
recommend
just would have liked to seen.
driver
I would have
etiquette.
liked to see the car like spread out some wings, have a tail on the back, and just sail up and over the fence.
Or Lightning McQueen almost did that.
Yeah,
Have it land on the runway back there on the airport.
But yeah, this sport hasn't seen a fatality in 24 years. And I mean, obviously, we all hope to keep it that way. And we've sent cars into the catch fence. We've sent them at 190, just head on into the outside wall. And all these guys get out of their car, and most 99% of the time get back in the car next week, the week after.
The cars are arguably the safest they've ever been. Thumbs up. And on top of it, the driver etiquette is arguably as worse as it's ever been in NASCAR history. But for some reason, we're complaining about the driver safety, or the drivers are internally. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them are, but I don't know. It seems ridiculous just to hear. And NASCAR gets slammed for everything that they're trying to do, and all they're trying to do is keep drivers safe. They wouldn't go the other direction. You know what I mean? It's anyway. Man.
The one thing, playing a little devil's advocate here for Ryan Priest, since he didn't want to join us on the pod today for some reason, is that, I mean, he does have it is freak that he has gotten in these incidents so often, right? It's like someone up there, one of the racing gods is just picking on him specifically, because he's gotten airborne a lot. So compared to the average driver who, flips like once in their career, he's gotten twice in the last 3 years at the same track. And I assume a lot of that anger was getting straight out of the care center. You're still pissed off. And I can't imagine he had seen enough replays to really understand what was going on. Just a little devil's advocate there. Like, yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. Like, this is the safest car that we've ever had in NASCAR. But there's a lot of different factors, going into him just kind of spewing off, because you see interviews all the time after wrecks where guys just lose their heads about stuff. And I mean, maybe it is exactly how he feels today, and will feel going forward this week. But I agree with you. It doesn't really make sense, but also it's another one of those things that could be heat of the moment. And he's just gotten the short end of the stick of a lot of wrecks. He has had some nasty looking things happen to him. So, just, since he didn't want to join us today, just, throw his 2 cents in there, or at least what I think he might be thinking.
Well, NASCAR took a big action by making the backstretch look as ugly as it's ever been to prevent what happened to him 2 years ago. Now, you have a freak thing. If a car hits another car at the right angle, it's going to get air. It just happens. It happens on just driving your street car. You can pop it, and your car goes up and over. If I go and flip my car on the interstate, am I going to say, oh, well, Nissan needs to do better because they couldn't keep my car on all 4 wheels?
It's not like it doesn't happen every day at some corner of the planet. It's part of it. They're racing. They're racing cars fast.
If Ryan Priest is so worried about it, he should just pull out of the sport. Just
or go back to modifieds where you can, and you have no fenders and you can literally ramp up on it to another car.
Yeah, I don't. It's just, and then he's trying to say, "Oh, well, I don't want to be the example of the one that dies here soon." No, I just on the race picks. I had the race picks 1 coming to the white flag, and then
Me. Well, I guess you did, and then he spun himself.
I had Herb. Yeah, Herbst was I think the highest out of our 4.
Thank God he saved his car, because
Could you imagine he didn't, and then he threw the caution going into turn 1, and then we would have just been all over again.
Yeah, that would have been a nightmare.
And then Austin Cindric would have won again because of a caution.
Yeah, but then again, well, was that overtime? That would have been 500.
It was overtime, yeah.
Darn, never mind. 501.
Yeah, no, the wreck happened in overtime.
501.
But since apparently you guys thought I was tanking for the first pick this week, which didn't happen, almost got a win. It was actually Steve that got last week with Carson Hocevar.
Was he ever any higher than 41st?
No. No. I think what he did is that he was so concerned about the Twitch stream that he was doing in the hauler with iRacing that I think he just stayed there and the car never got out on the track.
Can we sit on that for a second? Like, this man has an entire iRacing setup that he put in his hauler to take 2 races. Specifically, like he was Twitch streaming before practice or after practice or something, before qualifying. Like, he was doing it like all week. Like, that seems like I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to rain on his parade or anything, but it feels like, especially during a rain delay, like, yeah, I know you're gonna have this amount of time, whatever. But if you're doing like official races, like, there's certain times that those start, and then those go for however long until you finish that race, right? So what if they get called back to the cars? Is he just gonna like quit? Is he just gonna take his iRating?
Well,
like,
did you hear what he said when he was during media day when he was talking to Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi?
I did not. Please inform me.
He does not study any film, doesn't really do any of that. He says when people tell him stuff, it just kind of goes in one ear, out the other, and he just drives on field.
Welcome back, Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah. Yeah, and clearly that 30th place finish really worked out well for him.
Maybe you should check out the film, Carson.
Yeah, I mean, with your 12 iRacing accounts because you keep getting banned on them, so now you're stuck doing C class. Yeah, I mean, it worked out really good. Maybe you should study some film. Literally the NASCAR version of Jamarcus Russell. So, anyways, Carson screwed me. But that's fine. That's fine because Atlanta's coming up, another drafting track. And I have better faith in one of his teammates, and that how Corey LaJoie almost won in the 7 car, except he was terrible and didn't get a win there. But now it's going to be the new driver of the 7. It's going to be Justin Haley winning at Atlanta. That's going to be my pick. And hopefully he does better than 30th.
Well, based off of the results last week, Cody Ware, for like the first time in the next gen era, did not get a top 20 at Daytona.
Ooh.
He ended up 25th.
Gonna have like a top 6 if he got through that wreck and then somebody
Yeah.
quit. Well, yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's me. Sorry. You ruined your call there, but I guess this week I don't know if Corey LaJoie is racing. He might be.
He is. Yeah, he is.
I thought about picking him, but I think I'm going to save him for a little bit. I'm actually going to stick for a not a second straight week, but this driver looking for another really good run. I'm going to take, well, I was trying to think. I don't know how he's performed here in the past, but obviously their team performed really well at Daytona, and we talked about them a little bit earlier, but I'm actually going to take Eric Jones. I think that Jones is going to be here in the top 5, top 10 again. And I think that he's got a shot for a win. I mean, he runs great at super speedways, and this is now a super speedway. So I think he's going to be a guy to watch out for. I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 5, pretty early on and stays up there.
I'm praying that you are correct on that.
Yeah. He deserves it. I think he finished like 12th or 13th, and all of Legacy finished like better than that because John Hunter finished 5th, but Jones definitely was the best performer all of Speed Weeks of the bunch. But obviously, if they had that set up at Daytona, and they're able to carry, something similar, they'll definitely be competitive. So, and Jones is the most competitive one of the three from the camp.
All right. Now, I mean, you really could go in here and try to tank it here for next week to get SVG if you wanted them. But we're not tanking here. We don't tank. We want wins.
Well, actually, I think you tank. You're a Giants fan, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I wasn't gonna say it, but I was thinking it.
No, the Giants aren't good at tanking, even if they were. So they failed.
Shitter!
They played themselves out of the number 1 pick. But that's besides the point. If I could, I'd pick Riley Herbst again because I think he's gonna just be the best this weekend. But
Don't self-spin on the last.
we'll go. You know what? Since West didn't take him, I'll take Corey LaJoy this week.
There you go.
In the 01. I think he'll be a contender at some point in the day. Hopefully it's at the end of the race. And I mean, what a story would that be if Corey LaJoy was able to get his first win? Would they then give him a full-time ride since he would be in the playoffs, or
No.
Short and sweet. I like it.
We'll
That
see if
man
we're
is
talking
still
about
stacking
that.
pennies and flipping burgers.
Just put the fries in the bag, man. Put them in the bag.
All right, well, Sam, you took it home with Michael McDowell last week.
That leads to your winner. I'll probably be your winner again. First of all, everyone knows who I want to pick. It's on my hat. I got this hat at Atlanta last year. I was at that race. Yes, I was. But I will not pick Joey. I will not, because I'm saving him for somewhere really special. Don't know where yet. But you know who I will pick? The guy who seems to have this new Atlanta thing figured out. I think I will see live on Sunday because I will be there. I will see Daniel Suarez win. I will see because you look at last year what he finished. I know he won the first one by an inch, and then the second one he finished top 5, right? Like he was up there. He seems to understand Atlanta, because it's pack racing, but like in a different sense, right? It's a lot tighter. It's a lot different, especially as the pavement wears down. There's actually a little bit more skill involved in Atlanta than it is at the big traditional plate racing tracks. So it seems like he's got something figured out. Like he's up there contending. Like I believe in him. So I think Suarez is who I'm going to go with here out of the Trackhouse bunch.
All right. Well, there's your picks for this week. Anyone have anything else to say before we get to Atlanta?
I'm excited. First NASCAR race of the season. Last year, I think I went to 7. There was a point there in the chat where someone asked me, "Hey, have you missed the NASCAR race this month?" The summer was fun last year, I gotta say. But yeah, I'm excited to go out to Atlanta and take in some of the NASCAR action this weekend.
We're gonna have to get some stickers. We're gonna have to get some Ford Field Podcast stickers made, and then have you hand them out and stick them on people's
Here you go.
faces.
Here you go. Look at this. Here you go. Hey, yeah, I'll sign your hat. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, here you go. Here's the sticker.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
we're gonna roll up.
We're gonna need you to do like a little, how the TikTokers go around and they're, interviewing everyone on their phones. I need you to do a
We
little,
need you to do that.
Yeah, pick up some word on the street, some
there you go.
tiny mic interviews. How are
That's
the
right.
fans liking their weekend?
I'm excited to get out to the track. My first race isn't until Charlotte. I think that'll be which there's a chance we'll be there live on location. We're gonna take over the NASCAR stage out in the fan zone. We're gonna just the Ford Field Podcast live.
That'd be pretty amazing. Who's to stop us from all going up there at the same time? I didn't say that now. I'm just joking. I'm just playing. It's just
Wes has just been put on a NASCAR watch list. Like, hey, if this guy's at a race, like, don't let him close to the stage. He's gonna hop the fence.
Have you guys seen the guy on like social media that goes to the stadiums and said like he tours
Yeah.
the stadiums like how long can I stay in the stadium
Yeah.
after the game ends? Well, he's literally blacklisted by the NFL. They didn't let him into the Super Bowl last year.
That's crazy.
Like he bought a ticket from someone and then the guy went to transfer the ticket to him and the NFL stopped the transfer before he could get the ticket transferred to him.
That's insane.
Roger Goodell, no fun league.
So that could be NASCAR now with Wes and Charlotte.
Yeah.
You never know.
be that with Wes and Charlotte.
Well, actually, that's
our Wes loves y'all. So
this
thanks
isn't
for-
even Wes. It's Jeb Burton there. So just
Oh
don't
yeah,
worry.
well,
Jeb, they're gonna pull your hard card.
I hate to say it, but
Pull the mask off, and it's just your face again because you look exactly like him.
I mean, we go way back. I mean, he's a good friend. So
Hey, Jeb Burton, he looked good. He looked good until he got taken out.
that is
Come on, Jeb.
a good thing to say. Jeb did have probably one of the strongest runs of his career as well. In that,
Oh, speaking of Jeb Burton, since we were giving shout outs, how did everybody like the CW broadcast? I personally loved it. I thought it was great. Everything from the graphics to the commentary. I thought it was, for the first race, I thought it was a home run. I thought it was way better than Fox.
yeah,
Pretty good.
I think like Adam Alexander, he's not the most like captivating voice to listen to, but he's very smart and intelligent about how he sets everything up. And then obviously with the two he's got beside him, which I guess are Jamie McMurray, and then why am I blanking on the second one? Is it Trevor?
Parker Kligerman?
Not Trevor Payne, Parker Kligerman. But Parker Kligerman and Jamie McMurray, that's a perfect trio. Some of the smartest people, that are in NASCAR media now that have been around for a long time. So it's a knock out of the park. Graphics were great. Everything was great. Carla Metz too. She was picked up, for Junior Motors, or I guess not Junior Motorsports, Dirty Mo Media last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was picked up by the CW. She did a great job too.
Yeah, she's really good. I think she was like in that Charlotte area. She also like works like with one of the news stations down there. But great talent they got there at the CW. Really like what they're doing. The only complaint I have is they don't have the races live on the CW app. So if you're like not home, you're just kind of out of luck when it comes to watching the Xfinity races. But I guess there's a trade-off there. Maybe they'll get that sorted out or not. Guess you just have to cut some time out on a Saturday and make sure you're home to watch it. I will give Fox some credit. Their 500 coverage was better. There was only, I think, 18 minutes of full screen commercials this year, as opposed to, I think I saw a thing, it was like 46 or 55 minutes last year. So yeah, I do like that they're going to side-by-side commercials more than the full screen commercials. Even though you wouldn't miss anything in the first 150 laps if they went to full screen commercials.
The 500 will also be the pinnacle of Fox's broadcast because every year it always is. Oh, wow, they actually fixed it this year. They look good. Yay. And then you get to Atlanta and it's like, oh, welcome back, Fox Sports.
It was actually, we didn't have any green flag pit stops in the 500, did we?
No, not one. I paid attention.
There happened to be like a debris caution that would come out before they'd ever get to that point.
Neither debris caution. They had two. They didn't show either debris.
Yeah, phantom debris cautions are
They're
back.
Here we go.
Hey, it got Joey back in. I was fine with it.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we're going to end the episode today. We'll enjoy the races in Atlanta, and we will be back next week to talk all about it.